Let's get this figured out. This road gon' give me whatever I need until I get this vision out. Then they gon' pay me whatever I ask, cause I got it figured out. Family be checking all up on a nigga to see how I'm feeling now. Damn, they love to see a nigga really make a killing now. I put a lock on the game and I hide the code and the keys. I am not playing no games, I really play this shit for keeps. That shit for me.
MaddenHeadz YouTube, what's going on? It is your boy, Coach DC, coming back at you today with another video. And today we're going to get into the user change of direction. I know we did the route running or the route reading video. But in this video, we're going to talk more about just the change of direction itself, with the user and how to achieve that. Now, mostly through this is it starts with stick pressure. As always, you always hear me say that. And so stick pressure, if you're not using stick pressure, you actually might be getting only about 60% of the reaction that you could be getting, maybe 50% of the reaction that you could be getting from your user. That's why a lot of the times, we've dealt with such things as blitz the guy to get better movement and all that kind of stuff, when technically it's really just stick pressure that causes the really smooth transition and changes of direction that you see, and really not to overrun plays. I think like a lot of the stuff that happens on Madden in the past, we could get control of the guy, but it's like we don't know how to stop and start the guy. So stopping the guy comes with a little bit of L2. As you see right there, as I get that same little turn you get defensively as you get offensively, but L2 allows a smoother transition, a smoother change of direction simply because of the balance. So as you see right here, as I'm controlling the defensive end, it's a little tap of L2. It's not a full squeeze, a little tap to get you closer to where you want to go. Now, the best way to control the guy is actually not to be on anything at all. Because when you're not on anything other than just stick pressure for the most part, and maybe, the L2, you're just going to get that kind of backward strafe. But if your stick pressure is really good, you can just make the guy stand, facing the quarterback. And that really leads to better change of direction. So as you see right there, the strafe, the backup, sliding my feet. And then once I see the route, then I'm going to be able to just kind of come off of L2, transition over into a heavier part of R2 to get the movement that I want. So as you see, on 90% of these plays, you're just going to see me in a strafe position first. And being able to stop and stand and, recognize where the routes are coming from and where they potentially are going is probably the best avenue for changing direction, simply because, like I said, you're balanced. You have the ability to go right or left. When you're leaning to the right or your back is turned, then it becomes a little bit harder to get the reaction you want. I think we're so used to, probably from the last gen, of just kind of pulling the stick back in another direction, and we just automatically assume that equates to an immediate change of direction, when no. There is a big momentum factor that comes into play on this. So as you see here, run left, R2, R2 to L2, stop, change direction. And so that's also a part of that, is also easing up on the stick. And when I say that, I don't mean the pressure of the stick. I mean just trying to get the stick back in a general centered spot. So as you see here, right here, I'm able to go in either direction. You see me slide left, go back to the right, still able to recover and get the interception and take it to the house. And so in a lot of these cases, you really want to make sure that you remain as centered as you possibly can be until you make the decision to go take away whatever it is that you're trying to take away, in the particular route combination. And so I think a lot of what happens is when you are centered, you have good stick pressure, you will get a better reaction from not only the guy that you're controlling, you'll get a better reaction from the rest of the defenders as well. As you see them all kind of get to that strafe up position, that has a lot to do with holding the L2 and the stick pressure. So, if you don't know that, then you need to get at me over on Coach DC 404. Still doing sessions, still doing the virtuals. Just gonna slow down a little bit, up until we get to 23. I have a lot of great content that I just want to hold it. I don't feel like it would be in my best interest to put out a lot of this content that I'm gonna have for 23, because a lot of this stuff is gonna work even better. And so again, as you see right here, that's what I call the bait. You turn and run. And so once you turn and run, the offensive guy will automatically assume that you're not coming back to that guy, or that they have the time to be able to put the ball in there, from the spot that you just vacated. But really, I do that on purpose as a part of the bait, because I want the guy to actually throw to the guy. So I'm going to show him, I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm there. And then I'm going to leave the guy for a half a second, or give you the opportunity to see if he's open, and then I'm going to, turn and run and do my thing. So as you see here, you see me getting back to the straight position, but as I'm getting back to the straight position coming off of R2, I have to come off of L2 and go to R2 with stick pressure in the direction, that I'm trying to take away that particular drag or crosser or whatever that was. And as you see, it was an easy flow to jump right underneath the route. And so again, it's really about the pressure that you put on the stick combined with the R2 and L2. Again, it's basically just toggling. It's like, you slow down with one, you accelerate with the other, and then it's your positioning and the angles that the stick pressure becomes so important, because some of these angles that you see me like really making a break on the ball at that, that slicing kind of angle, you can only get that with stick pressure. If you do not have stick pressure, your guys simply will not react. And that's, I think, a part of a lot of the situations where guys are under the impression that you have to blitz a guy to get better movement. No, you just have to have stick pressure. And so with that stick pressure and understanding how to come forward, how to move sideways, how to move at actual fluid angles, as opposed to that feeling that you're always on like the grid thing where you're running, you're running sideways, then up, sideways a little bit more, then up, sideways a little bit more, then up. No, just run at that straight direct line angle with the stick pressure, and you can get in front of a lot of these passes, even when in situations where it seems like you're out of position. So right there, if you see the bump and then you see the speed burst, because I use the speed burst as a recovery tool. That's basically what I'm using it for, is, to speed back up or to recover in case I do take a false step, or in case I do get beat, or I'm trying to recover to a certain position. And I think that's a lot of the misconceptions that when it comes to user control, is that you can't recover, or you can't necessarily, once a guy gets across you, I've heard it. It's like, oh yeah, once he crosses the guy, there's nothing he can do to catch up. Oh yes, there is. You can definitely catch up, and you can definitely get yourself into a position like when you're not. As you see right there, watch me get inside, because I'm guarding that particular route. That's my man. And so right there, I get underneath the ball and I'm ready to attack the football. Now, if he, for some reason, gives me a high pass right there, then he's going to throw that over my head. And so in the upcoming game, we're going to have to understand where the space is. And so the space is just like, the space can be anywhere. The space can be in front, behind, and the space can be vertical. It can be vertical space. You can have a 6'8" receiver going against a 5'10" corner. And so there's vertical space there, and you have to understand that in every situation, all the throws are not going to be the same. And so I think that that's one of the biggest things that we'll have to understand from the offensive perspective, is that every throw is not the same. And eventually, once the offense catches up to the defense, we will have to understand the same thing when it comes to user control. We'll have to understand how to get depth on certain routes, because just because it looks technically from a matchup, and when I say from a vertical matching standpoint, it looks like the guy is close, although he may be like 10 yards behind you. But from that vertical standpoint that we look at the screen, it looks like he's in lockstep with you, and technically there's 10 yards of space in between you and that guy. And so again, I love, this is like one of my favorite highlights, because this was just the ultimate like bait job. It's like I covered 2 or 3 routes on that and still had enough, you know, wherewithal to get back and cut off the football before it was thrown. And so as a user, your job is to discourage the obvious. Yeah, you want to discourage the obvious routes, force your opponent into throwing into situations where they're not totally comfortable. Now, in 23, I assure you, there are going to be a lot of those situations. Don't forget your manual press, and watch the slip right there. You know, being able to get onto a defender and then kind of slip off to show that the offensive guy that you're on somebody else, and then get back on that defender, and the offensive guy does not notice who, you know, who the user is. That's a great way to get a lot of interceptions. You just have to basically kind of hide yourself, man. So anyway, it's just going to be one of those things and one of those years, man. I'm really looking forward to it. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. This is Coach DC4.